Falcons training has never been so complex. Since former assistant coach Tom Wiseman took over the top job less than a month ago, the players have found themselves marching to a very different tune.
We're working at trying to get some changes made, and in 2 weeks the changes in the first week confused us and we took a step backwards, didn't play nearly as well. But this week we did show signs of getting better and starting to play more as a team.
Under Wiseman, the side has recorded losses to East Side and North Melbourne. The first game was a shocker, but last weekend's 114-101 loss to the Giants did have some merit. The side was still well in the game with just 5 minutes to go, and some new attacking moves succeeded in foiling the zone defence that has been the Falcons' undoing all year.
I put in a set play that we persevered with. It didn't get it done the first week, but it worked very well against North Melbourne. They tried to the zone and we broke their zone wide open. They had to get out of it, so maybe that's encouraging.
Newcastle fans get their first chance to check out the Wiseman style at this weekend's home game against the Gold Coast.
Protesters marched from the city's East End through the Hunter Mall, finally congregating in Civic Park. This was the strongest demonstration so far of widespread concern about the state of health services in the Hunter area.
Is there any part of New South Wales that has contributed so much to this nation, so much of our resources than we of the Hunter? Yet, we've known discrimination. We know disadvantage well.
As you can hear, the rule of silence usually enforced by hospital staff has been broken by them. As far as they're concerned, the time for quiet has passed. The Hunter region runs $500,000 over budget each week. Health workers say instead of axing services, the budget should be increased.
I think this deficit of $500,000 a week is a furphy. I think that the area has been chronically underfunded in the past, for at least the last 5 years, that there should be reasonable funding for first-class health services for the people of the Hunter Valley.
A resolution was unanimously passed to continue the campaign for top health care for the Hunter. Meanwhile, the Hospitals Minister Ron Phillips is considering a proposal from the board of the Hunter Area Health Service. It has recommended against the closure of a hospital in the region. Instead, services would need to be transferred from the Royal Newcastle and Wallsend hospitals to the John Hunter Hospital. A spokesperson for the minister said a decision about the future of Hunter Health Services will be announced in the next few days. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Muswellbrook High's under-14s are yet to taste defeat this year, and it wasn't long before winger Ian Spicer showed why. The Blue and Golds continued to pile on the pressure, but some desperate cover defence kept them at bay. Then, with just seconds remaining in the first half, a disastrous lapse. Ahead 12-0 at the break, Muswellbrook wrapped up the game with an early second-half try to centre Victor Robinson. Warners Bay refused to give in though, and Peter Hughes finally gave the parochial crowd something to cheer about. But Muswellbrook were just too classy, and they eventually ran out comfortable winners, 26 points to 6. Bruce Mackenzie, NBN News. Caretaker coach David Waite, who took over the first grade side following Alan McMahon's shock resignation, is still thought by many to have the inside running. Former Illawarra coach Ron Hilditch also has his share of supporters, and former Raiders strongman Dean Lance is still under consideration as well. It's not known when the official announcement will be made.
It was about 1:45 on a Tuesday morning when two masked men entered the Caltex service station at the corner of Maitland Road and Hubbard Street. The men went straight to the lone attendant. Both were carrying large knives similar to so-called Rambo knives. The pair ordered the attendant to the ground, then grabbed a small amount of money from the till. Before they left, one savagely kicked him several times, inflicting head injuries which are still being treated. Police say they're particularly concerned by the level of aggression involved.
There's no money in service stations overnight anyway, and the fact they resorted to violence leads us to think they're very desperate.
The pair were last seen running across Maitland Road into Islington Park. The first is 170 centimetres tall of medium build. He was wearing a black balaclava, black sloppy Joe and black track pants. The second man was shorter, 165 centimetres tall of chubby build. He was wearing a black duffel coat with a hood and black tracksuit pants. Both men were armed with distinctive chrome knives similar to a survival knife with a black handle. If you think you know these men, contact police on the Crime Stoppers number now. There is a reward of $1,000 paid anonymously for information leading to an arrest. The caller does not have to leave a name and will be given a secret code number to pick up the reward money.
Homeowners with mortgages at the Newcastle Permanent Building Society will have more money in their pockets from September the 1st. Interest rates on existing loans for owner-occupied premises will drop by 0.5% to 12.5%.
Our existing borrowers will be charged less than those of any other home finance organisation in Australia.
A $60,000 loan over 25 years would attract savings of $22.80 a month, and anyone with a loan of $80,000 would have a reduced interest bill of $30.40 a month. Frank Wotherspoon believes the worst of the recession has passed. He believes a reduction in interest rates will restore confidence in the local economy and kickstart the construction industry in Newcastle. Other major lending institutions are charging 13% for existing home loans. Frank Wotherspoon believes they will not follow the lead set by the Newcastle Permanent Building Society. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Launched today, the Newcastle Old Town 1997 strategy seeks to capitalise on what the group sees as the rich history of an area that was once the centre of town.
Everyone recognises the need for revitalisation. What we're trying to emphasise today is that heritage is the key to that revitalisation.
Dr Dick believes historic sites in the Old Town should be identified and developed to realise their tourist potential. Outdoor cafes, open-air meeting places and entertainment should also be incorporated. The group is opposed to the plan to end the railway line at Honeysuckle and wants Newcastle Station to remain. The group's members say the East End should not be overlooked in a rush to redevelop the Honeysuckle goods yard and the foreshore.
If we're not careful, we'll have a wonderful new centre in Honeysuckle and no one will be going through to the mall and the East End.
The Concerned Citizens Group has compiled this detailed strategy and is calling on business, the council, residents and the wider community to contribute ideas and proposals. Lord Mayor John McNaughton said this afternoon that many of those ideas are already underway, but the council will look favourably at anything new that will revive the East End. Alison Peters, NBN News.
Port Stephens may have a reputation for being a blue water wonderland, but the water seeping into Salamander Bay resident Rosalie O'Brien's yard is anything but blue.
This is effluent. Water must come downhill from people who have not put in the correct drainage systems.
The illegal discharging of effluent from household septic tanks into street gutters and drains has been the subject of a new survey by Port Stephens Shire Council. The results have been disturbing for the council, with about 30% not using the effluent pump-out services properly.
Either it's a mechanical or damage to the tank which allows seepage to get into the waterways, or there are cases where there is just quite deliberate short-circuiting and pumping of effluent into the gutters.
Mr Pugh says the illegal discharges could contaminate the environment and cause serious health problems. Although the pump-out service costs a hefty $50 a month, Mr Pugh says trying to shirk the bills by dumping illegally is inexcusable.
And that is a pretty poor attitude for anybody in the community this day and age.
Some Port Stephens residents say their council is showing a double standard over this issue. On the one hand, the council is expressing concern about the environmental and health problems associated with effluent discharges. But on the other hand, the council keeps approving building developments when the sewerage system cannot cope.
And I believe we're still getting treated as second-grade citizens by the fact that council is trying to take us into the year 2000 on an outdated system of drainage that still applies in the port.
The Clean Waters Coalition will be joining forces with other Port Stephens residents groups tonight at a public meeting at Nelson Bay Bowling Club to fight what they see as the council's breaching of standards for the sake of development. The 150 crew members of the HMAS Tobruk were making final preparations this afternoon to sail from Newcastle Harbour for the first time in 6 months. The amphibious landing vessel has been in the Forjac's floating dock since March for a major refit. In June, the Tobruk was left high and dry by a painters and dockers strike which crippled the yard and frustrated the Navy.
We were the meat and the sandwich, if you like. There wasn't anything we could do about the dispute. We had two sides arguing over an issue which we had no control over.
Although the dispute delayed the Tobruk's schedule by 3 weeks, Commander Kennedy says the dockyard may win more Navy work.
If dockyard areas like this one remain competitive, then they will be considered for future work.
Owner Stephen Forjak says his company will be tendering for more defence work because these contracts are vital for the yard.
We're hoping we're getting another Navy works in Newcastle Harbour shortly, and which is Forjak's needed and Newcastle Town is needed as well.
The Tobruk is undergoing sea trials tonight before returning to port tomorrow. When the Tobruk leaves again on Monday, the crew will be taking a load of memories, including a few opinions about the strike that almost sunk Forjak's.
Put us behind a bit, really. It wasn't the best.
Things are resolved fairly well between the ship and the Forjak stockyards.
It's a good place to party in Newcastle.
Of the hunter, and in any part of the hunter. The hunter
They say desperate people go to desperate measures, and the latest fundraising exercise for William IV could be put into that category. With plank in place, Captain Ian McLeod demonstrated what a number of prominent hunter people will be doing come October. With the water at chilly 15 degrees, the captain wasted no time in getting out, but leaving proved to be more difficult than he bargained for. Captain, that's a pretty desperate measure to raise money for William IV. Why do it?
We have a little debt to clear off the capital. At the moment we're running quite well within budget from a day-to-day point of view, but there is a capital debt to be cleared yet. And we're having a festival day on the wharf on the 29th of October. We hope everybody will turn up, and we've got lots of support from prominent people around the city to walk the plank, and we hope other people will be here to watch them.
One person who has already volunteered to tread the plank is member for Shortland Peter Morris. Today, though, taking a glimpse over the side was punishment enough.
Well, hold on, look, I'm not going in, I'm the reluctant victim. But I will go in if there are enough people out there that are prepared to donate $5,000 to the Newcastle Regional Museum for William IV, and that's my price.
Photos of the man made public by police have so far netted a good response from people who've been able to supply information about the last hours of his life. Mr Smith's body was found in Throsby Creek on Thursday. He'd suffered serious head injuries. Suspicion surrounding the death heightened when a number of the man's personal belongings could not be found. Police are now focusing their attention on finding a wallet, a dark-coloured jacket and a Walkman-style radio. Police divers from Sydney have been called in to assist with the investigation. A preliminary search of Throsby Creek around the Carrington boat ramp near where Mr Smith's body was found has failed to turn up any of the missing articles which police believe could be the key to the case. The divers will continue their sweep tomorrow. Andrew Lobb reporting for NBN News.
Toronto dictated play for the first 10 minutes and then Western Suburbs struck, with Baker giving Tony Price a delightful ball and the live wire halfback scored under the posts. But immediately the Scorpions hit back. Kennedy's pass found Crawford, who threw a super pass to Hollis, and the robust centre crossed wide out. 15 minutes later, one of the tries of the season. Frendo chip-kicked and it was taken by Baker, who raced across field where he found Tony Price waiting to find his accurate pass. In doing so, opening up the Scorpions. Price onto Nandy and he set sail down the left wing. Looming up in support was Tracy, and after accepting Nandy's pass, had too much pace and he was in under the posts. West weren't finished in the first half and Greg Price somehow got the ball to Hode, who offloaded to Tony Price and he was in for number 2. Toronto hit back right after the half-time break with clever work and a big dummy from Kennedy, and it was 6 the difference. But the Rosellas had too much left, Bowen scoring a hooker's try from dummy half. And then Law McDougall, looking like a centre, made a break over halfway. Sheamer came across to lend a hand. He let the ball go wide to Nandy on the left, and the youngster Garth Brennan was there to finish off the move and the Scorpions.
Bill Molnar owns a company called NARC, which specialises in archiving and recording information. Unable to find equipment in Australia, he turned to the United States.
What we're hoping to do is take this further, develop it into Australian standards and take this information back to America so it becomes a two-way trade.
On the other side of the coin is Dennis Redman. He has developed a graphics package which can be fitted to a personal computer. He is now looking to market his product in the United States.
Obviously we want to develop the product and be successful on the local market, but you've got to remember that the United States market is approximately 50 times the Australian market, and that means that for every dollar we can potentially make in Australia, there's $50 to be made in the US, and that makes it very appealing.
To help people like Bill and Dennis deal with the US, Lake Macquarie Council held a trade seminar with the key speaker, the US Consul General Philip T. Lincoln.
I think it's important not only to bring into the big centres like Melbourne and Sydney into the trading picture, but also the regional areas which have so much to offer, like the Newcastle Hunter Valley area.
Mr. Lincoln says there are many opportunities for hunter companies in the United States just waiting to be exploited.
One area that I think is particularly promising is environmental protection, because both our countries are very concerned about this, and in the environmental services area and equipment, waste management, water quality, air quality, these are areas which I think there's a tremendous trade potential.
These 8 teachers are the first to take part in the Teachers in Business program, which is designed to strengthen the links between schools and the wider community. They'll spend 3 weeks in industries related to their teaching field, being treated as part of the staff. The Department of Education hopes it will give the teachers valuable experience outside the education system and first-hand knowledge of what's expected of their students when it comes time for them to enter the workforce. That experience will directly benefit students.
I think for the students, they will gain from the teachers increased knowledge about the business world. Having experienced it even for just 3 weeks, that teacher will bring back to the students accurate, up-to-date information about that particular industry, how to apply for a position in that industry, and what the expectations would be of employees going into the industry.
The first 5 teachers will begin their program next month.
This is what residents of Boolaroo saw this morning coming from the Pasminco smelter. Jenny Lydiard lives opposite the plant. She says she heard a series of loud explosions and came outside to find her yard filled with fumes.
Well, it was a great big black cloud and it was coming straight out of the building over there. It was pouring all over the suburb, over all the houses up here, and you don't know what you're breathing in.
The emission was also seen from the northern side of the plant at Argenton. Alan Roberts, General Manager of Pasminco, says he understands residents' concerns, but says the explosion and discharge could not have been predicted nor prevented.
We were operating well, and then all of a sudden the furnace developed a hole in it, and the slag which is held in the furnace it disgorged onto the road.
According to Mr Roberts, when the slag hit the air and water on the internal road in the plant, it caused a number of explosions and a resulting emission.
That is primarily water vapour and zinc oxide fume.
So residents are concerned about it. Is there any reason for them to be concerned?
I can understand residents being concerned about that. The noise was very loud and would have reverberated in Boolaroo. And although there was a lot of fume, it will not be harmful.
This morning's incident caused a major breakdown in plant operations, costing the company $10,000 an hour in lost production. The company hopes to have the furnace repaired within 24 hours. Residents of the area are seriously concerned about emissions from Pasminco. This is the second time in 3 months they've recorded on home video an accidental discharge, and they're forming a watchdog committee to keep a constant eye on the plant. With recent studies by the Department of Health revealing abnormally high lead levels in children from the area, residents are outraged by this latest accidental discharge.
It makes you even think that you want to move away because You know, we own this house, we're paying for it at the moment, but is it worth it to risk your health?
The State Pollution Control Commission is investigating today's incident. Regional Manager Alan Crapp says it's possible the company could be charged under the Clean Airs Act. Jodie McKay, NBN News.